Considering that SummerSlam is number 2 only to WrestleMania in terms of things that Vince McMahon likes because it makes Vince McMahon loads of money, and Vince McMahon likes loads of money because it buys you lots of fashionable suits like these. Considering that, it might surprise you that the biggest party of the summer was the last of the big 4 to be added to the calendar. WrestleMania debuted in 85, Survivor Series in 87, the Royal Rumble in January 88, and SummerSlam later that year, trotting up the rear like a dependable puppy that pisses cash. With SummerSlam 2017 over a month away, it's time for some fascinating facts. We've got a long road ahead of us. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about SummerSlam 88. Number 10, Vince tried to bring in Ric Flair. The relationship between WWE and Jim Crockett's NWA WCW can best be described as a feud between two dads who keep trying to kill the other dad's children. Survivor Series and Royal Rumble were conceived in order to derail Crockett's Starrcade and Bunkhouse Stampede events, and the Carolina Kingpin fought back by putting a televised Clash of the Champions against WrestleMania 4. Flair had reigned as NWA World Champion since November 1987 and recalls being pitched an opportunity to jump to WWE in the summer of 1988 to wrestle then WWE Champion Randy Savage in a historic champion versus champion match to headline the maiden SummerSlam. It was later revealed that it didn't happen because Ted Turner, who bought up the NWA's assets in November 1988, would not have bought the company if Flair wasn't part of the package. The Crocketts were in a financial quandary, and it's believed that Flair stayed out of pure loyalty. You good-natured boy. Number 9, the roster worked 3 house shows the day before. The WWE schedule is a kick to the cock. Lots of them, and you have to drive for about 300 miles in between each kick to the cock. At least today, with big pay-per-views, the roster normally have a few days of R&R at home before the show. The 1988 SummerSlam was merely the last stop of an extensive touring loop. You bastard. The day before the pay-per-view, the roster was divided, working 3 separate shows before reconvening in New York on Monday. Hulk Hogan headlined the A show in Toronto in a match against Bad News Brown. The B show took place in Montreal, where world champion Randy Savage lost by countout to hometown star Dino Bravo. Finally, a C show with a skeleton crew of wrestlers occurred in Sharpsville, Indiana, with Brutus Beefcake working on top against Hercules. Wrestle again, shouted Vince. Wrestle harder and again. Number 8, the theme tune became the Royal Rumble theme. Nothing beats classic WWF pay-per-view themes. Whoa, whoa, WrestleMania. The theme song for the 1988 SummerSlam is quite recognizable to fans of the era, an infectiously upbeat bit of trot rock ripped right out of the John Tesh playbook. We don't have the rights, so I'll sing it. SummerSlam, look at my show, it's called SummerSlam. I actually haven't listened to the music, but what I do know is that theme song in question would only accompany SummerSlam 88 and 89 before being replaced by a heavier, more intense rock piece. The original SummerSlam theme would be reborn as the theme for the Royal Rumble from 1991 to 1994. Look, that's a fact. Number 7, the pay-per-view spent ages promoting a flop. It's always fun when Vince McMahon pours money into something that isn't wrestling. It always goes wrong. Ico Pro, the WBF, the XFL, WWF New York, and even the first SummerSlam wasn't immune from Vince's get-rich-quick schemes. The footage has been cut from the network version and most versions, but a lot of the airtime during the first ever SummerSlam was used to hype a boxing match between Sugar Ray Leonard and Donnie Lalonde, which Vince happened to be promoting. The lost footage included an interview that Mean Gene conducted with Sugar Ray Leonard live in front of the crowd. However, the match was a big old flop, and Vince would probably prefer not to think about it. Number 6, last hurrahs for the old guard. It was around this time in the late 80s that WWE began to experience a major roster overhaul. Wrestlers that had been stars in the early to mid 80s had seen their wattage dim and were shuffled into the mid-card as fresher faces like the Ultimate Warrior, Mr. Perfect, the Big Boss Man, the Rockers, and the incoming Brainbusters. They fortified high-profile roster spots. The Rock and Wrestling era relics began falling off. SummerSlam 1988 marked the final WWE pay-per-view matches for the Junkyard Dog and Don Morocco, losing to Ravishing Rick Rude and Dino Bravo respectively. Aging Ken Patera barely lingered until Survivor Series, and at SummerSlam was all but squashed by Bad News Brown. All of them were considered valuable commodities in 1984. Notably, it also marked the only SummerSlam appearance for a declining Dynamite Kid, who would leave the company 3 months later. Number 5, Rick Rude's airbrush design was Pat Patterson's idea. One of the more intense feuds of the day pitted your mum's new boyfriend Rick Rude against Resolute Iceman Jake Roberts. The story began when Rude made a pass at a woman he later found out was Roberts' then wife Cheryl. One of the big angles from SummerSlam 1998 took place during Rude's match with Junkyard Dog, in which Rude pulled down his own tights to reveal a second pair underneath, which just happened to have Cheryl Roberts' face airbrushed on the crotch and arse, you little tinker. According to Bruce Pritchard, the idea for that airbrush design came from Pat Patterson, and what a master stroke it was, to pardon the wording. Number 4, Honky wouldn't lay on his stomach. The most celebrated moment from SummerSlam 1988 was when Honky Tonk Man, Intercontinental Champion of 15 months, issued an open challenge to any wrestler in the back, only for the Ultimate Warrior to molest him in 30 seconds. Honky noted later what many other wrestlers felt, that Warrior was rather reckless in the ring. As a result of Warrior's uncontrolled performances, Honky opted to take the Warrior's splash while laying on his back, as opposed to on his stomach, as most opponents had done prior to SummerSlam. This was because Honky didn't trust Warrior not to hurt his back when bringing his weight down, whereas laying on his back allowed Honky to endure the impact much more safely. Number 3, Warrior won the belt before officially winning it. Fans today are accustomed to their weekly dub graps being filmed live, but it used to be that WWE would tape several weeks of programming in a single night. This proved tricky when it came to title changes, and it was the case when Warrior won the IC title belt from the Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam 88. A week before the pay-per-view, WWE taped episodes of Superstars and Challenge that would air for weeks after SummerSlam, and Warrior would need to be wearing the belt when appearing on those shows. So what to do? On both nights of the tapings, Warrior would defeat Honky in untelevised matches at the start. Later in both tapings, Warrior would enter with the belt he just, in quotation marks, won. At the end of both nights of tapings, it was announced that the decisions were reversed and the belt was then returned to Honky, and those reigns didn't count. So the Honky Tonk Man could officially lose the belt to Warrior at SummerSlam. You get it? Number 2, it was Hogan's first televised match in 3 months. In New Haven, Connecticut on April 21st, 1988, Hulk Hogan went over on Boris Zukov in a match taped for WWE Superstars. It aired 3 weeks later and would be Hogan's last televised match until SummerSlam. In May, Hogan's then wife Linda gave birth to the couple's first child, Brooke. You might remember her from all those wonderful TNA moments, not TNA, like, you know what I mean. From there, Hogan began filming the Oscar-nominated No Holds Barred. Hogan resurfaced at TV tapings in July, and though he would take part in non-televised encounters, most notably a cage match with Andre the Giant at Milwaukee's WrestleFest, the first SummerSlam was built around Hogan's televised return to the ring, teaming with Savage against the Mega Bucks. And number 1, the event almost equaled WrestleMania. Macho Madness and Hulkamania remained hot commodities in the summer of 1988 and held plenty of drawing power on pay-per-view. The injection of an August event on a largely untested pay-per-view landscape came with some financial risk, but SummerSlam would prove to be a success, equal almost to the show of shows. In all, the pay-per-view did about 400,000 buys, quite impressive for the era. The fact that WrestleMania 4 pulled in 485,000 buys 5 months earlier makes SummerSlam's total all the more noteworthy, meaning that fans viewed SummerSlam as being relatively on par with the pre-established Super Bowl of wrestling. And after all, there have been 28 SummerSlams since. F***ing hell. 28. Right, see you soon. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.